All right. I think we're live. Just tell me that I'm live so I can make sure. Day one. Day one. Day one. And pull up all the deals from today so far. And we'll get to talking about some stuff. Eventful day for the Giants. Not entirely sure that it's all positive, but we'll get into that stuff. We'll get into it. So, let me retweet the stream from a couple places. 1 second. That Najee Harris deal fucking sucks. I know that right off the bat. Let me send this out. Milton Williams, third highest. Yeah, I know, man. I know. But that shit's gonna happen. That shit is gonna happen. Stream says content not available on YouTube. Oh no, on Twitter. All right. Hopefully this time around it works. Still not available. All right, so not available on Twitter. That's fucking awesome. That's great. All right. Well, that sucks. Chris, if you're listening, I do have a book under the laptop. I have 3 books under the laptop. But I can put a 4th. Let's put a 4th under. You guys are about to see my entire desk space. Never mind, you're good. Okay. Do we want to go just Giants? Do we want to go just Giants first? I feel like I should go Giants first because I have a lot to say about this free agency day for them. Chris Board. I'll start from the least expensive to the most expensive so I can keep you guys here longer. How great is that? How great is knowing your audience? Chris Board, elite special teamer from pretty much everything that I've known from following him. I'm not going to get super in the weeds on this, but the Giants haven't had recently a great special teamer that you kind of think about, like the Deron Harmons of the world, and those caliber of guys. Chris Board's somebody who I think has built that specific role out for himself in this league. And you see $3 million a season. Doesn't look great initially, but if he can tackle in the open field, punt return, kick return, all that good stuff, $3 million is really dropping the bucket right now. I mean, the cap by next season might be at $300 million itself. So you're talking about 1% of the cap, for that guy. Negligible contract. I think it's fine either way. Roy Robertson Harris. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with the way that Joe Shane tackles the entire position of defensive tackle without Dexter Lawrence. So he's getting $4.5 million a year, can work it up to $5 million with incentives. However, if you look at the Giants' just D tackle room, it leaves so much to be desired. Obviously, you have Dex. You have draft picks and DJ Davidson. You have Jordan Riley. But for the value that Dex brings because of his unique skill set at the nose tackle, being able to rush the passer, being able to pretty much be a one-man run defense at times. This D tackle room is so poor. Raheem Nunez-Roches with a $5 million cap hit this season. DJ Davidson, not been a good rookie pick so far. Jordan Riley, not been a good rookie pick so far. And then you have guys like Ross Blacklock, who's been a bust, who was drafted to the Texans, and they picked him up, I think, off the wire. Elijah Chapman has been decent, but again, one season under his belt, not a lot of playing time, undrafted for a reason in a lot of these cases. So hopefully he can replicate that first season and build off of it, but that's still a little bit of a wild card. And then Roy Robertson Harris goes into your cap sheet at $4.5 million a season until the cap hit's been finalized and all that stuff, which I'm sure they're working through numbers on. But you have essentially what it is here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, and 17. So you have $40 million spent on the D tackle room. 24 of those $1 million are on Dexter Lawrence himself. Then with the other $16 million, you really have one contributor who I like, and that's Eli Chapman, who's an undrafted second-year player. So I feel like between Akeem and between Roy Robertson Harris, they're making around the same value combined as a really, really good starter, right? BJ Hill just got $11 million. Tier Tart just got 5.5 to go back to the Chargers on a 1-year deal. So when you look at combining Raheem and Roy Robertson Harris at $9.5 million a year on the cap sheet this season, I can't do that, man. I can't get with that. I think if you cut Raheem, which would have saved around $3.5 million, you combine that $8 million total salary rate because you have 3.5 from him, 4.5 from Roy Robertson Harris, and you go after a guy like, let's see, obviously I talked about BJ Hill, who got 11, who I would have really liked, but you can go after guys like, I'm gonna pull up the tackle deal so far over here. Well, Javon Kinlaw got a crazy contract, which was ridiculous, but whatever. That's a bad deal straight up. But Washington has the money to blow because they have Jaden Daniels and we don't. Just like Just like I said right there. Really, really wish we had Jaden Daniels right now. But regardless, Sheldon Rankins, $7 million for 1 year. Sebastian Joseph Day, $7.5 million for 1 year. Bobby Brown. This is the contract I can't believe. $7 million annual value, 24 and a half years old, signs a 3-year deal, $21 million total with, the guarantee numbers aren't out on that yet. So you're talking about $2.5 million more to go from a fringe starter, probably like a D tackle 4 type guy in Roy Robertson Harris, to getting a legitimate, like, top 20-ish against the run D tackle in Bobby Brown and giving Dex legitimate help in that, in that 3 tech. He's never really had, I don't want to say, because we had Leo here and Leo was really great for us for a couple seasons, but there's no young D tackle for him to grow with right now. And I hope the plan is for them to draft somebody in round 2. I prefer a trade back from 34 if they are going to trade up from 3 to 1. But I'm not a fan of the way that Joe's been allocating money around in the D tackle room. Not a fan of that. I think it's poor. I think you're paying a lot for guys who aren't in their prime, right? Raheem has had pretty much 3 seasons removed now from his peak season down in Tampa. And Roy Robertson Harris is also, I think, about 2 seasons removed from his peak when he was in, was it Chicago? It might have been Chicago, or he might have started off in Chicago, but he hasn't been the same guy for about 2 seasons. So anytime you can tie up, whatever it is, $9.5 million to 2 guys who are past their prime D tackles nearing 30, you just got to do it, really. You just got to do it. And then that's on top of this next contract that we'll talk about, which I need to see what the plan is for this, because maybe they play this guy at guard or something, and he's a cheap addition at guard. But James Hudson, 2-year deal for $6 million when he's not going to start at right tackle. He damn sure ain't starting at left tackle. You're paying this guy $6 million to be a swing? Is that where we're at with Andrew Thomas's health right now? We're giving him $6 million to be a swing tackle? Uh, that's the most efficient way we can spend our money, right? $6 million for a swing tackle, that's half of what Saquon was asking for from us. And now it makes the Saquon stuff look terrible because you can reach into the coffers and pull out half of his salary for somebody who might not see the field. If everything goes right for the Giants, this guy won't see a snap, and they paid him $6 million. I can't get my head around that. I think that's on the first day of free agency. That is nuts. The first day, not even 12 hours in, 8 hours in, they did this. So that deal, I like. He's 26, sure. He's started about a season's worth of games for the Browns over the last 4 seasons. Whatever. He's not really been good when he's played, and he was a converted edge to offensive tackle in college. I don't see how that's a $6 million profile. I saw that he's played at left and right tackle. He hasn't particularly been good at either spot. So if you're going to get a swing tackle who's not really good at any specific place, you already have Evan Neal on the roster. You have Evan Neal on the roster. Is Evan Neal going to be your guard? Is Evan Neal going to be your right guard, and now you're out of the right guard market? That's a possibility. But we don't know if Evan Neal's good, and this is a make-or-break season. So the allocation, I think, is so far the weakest of Joe Shane's tenure as Giants GM. I understood a lot of the signings year one. I liked that Okereke signing. I liked bringing back Adoree last season. I was never a big fan of the Nacho signing, which I kind of got PTSD when I saw that freaking Roy Robertson Harris notification hit my phone. But there's no reason to be spending big on swing tackle when you have that glaring hole at right guard. And you need to go big at right guard because your center is not particularly strong anyway. I really want Tevin Jenkins for this right guard spot. I think he brings a level of physicality that they don't have on the roster right now. I think when you look at the type of guys they have between Thomas, Runyon, and Illuminor, none of them are really road graders. None of them bring, kind of like that dominance on the ball, or in a man run scheme. They can just put a hat in a hat and demolish the guy in front of them. Tevin Jenkins brings that. He's nasty. I think he'd immediately be the best run blocker on this team. And you need JMS to play next to somebody who can really hold things up for himself in the run game, because I think JMS in the pass game has been better than JMS in the run game. He just hasn't had the power to survive in the run game, really. And, as a center, your hand's always going to be late coming back into the play because you have to snap the ball, right? So he needs a dominant run blocker next to him. Runyon is not that. And I really, really hope they're not banking on Neal being that, because it just doesn't make any sense to double down on this position. Hold up. 1 second. All right. Darius Slayton contract now. I really like this deal. I really do. For Gabe Davis money, for Darnell Mooney money, I think this is a good deal. $12 million a season, 3 years. You bring back a player who is respected, who honestly I think is better than Josh Palmer, who got the same exact contract. Tough for me to really poke a hole in this one. I think this one's good. I think it makes a little bit more sense now that you didn't trade him at the deadline, which I'm still not super in love with not dealing him and getting that pick. But overall, I don't think there was an upgrade out there to be had. And Are you spending a day 2 pick on a receiver to play that outside position? I don't think that's the best use of assets right now with this team. You need to address that right guard spot. If they don't pay somebody, then you have to draft it, which Joe Shane always puts himself in a position where he has to draft the best player at this position on day 2. Always seems to be what happens with him. We did it last year with safety, with Nubin. We've done it previously with, like, Flott and Zudu when he thought that he had to pigeonhole himself into taking a guard and a corner because there weren't any on the roster who were playable. I think this gives the Giants flexibility that they needed to move around in the second round and not be pigeonholed into picking a receiver too. I think that it's honestly below market value for a player who knows the system, who's been here for his whole career. And there's been some tweets floating around that he is going to probably finish at the time that this contract is over with like the second or third most receiving yards in the history of the Giants franchise. So I think this one is a good deal. I think this one's good all around. I'm going to look up right now where he's at receiving yards wise and how that stacks up with the rest of the franchise, leaders, because I'm interested now in this. Receiving yard leaders in Giants history. So Monty Toomer, number 1. Odell Beckham, number 2. And Amani's way up there. Amani has almost 10,000. Odell has 5,500. Frank Gifford has 5,400. Tiki Barber, of all people, has 5,200. And where is Darius Slayton? 18th overall with 3,900 receiving yards. So if he finishes the season healthy, he is going to climb up probably to top 10. He's 103, 833. He's 834 yards off from being the 10th all-time receiver in Giants history. That's fucking crazy. Shout out Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman knows ball, I guess. My window's frozen. Am I still live? Hopefully. I'm gonna keep chugging along. Darius Slayton. So in summation, Darius Slayton, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you for pretty decent value, I think, honestly. I would give this probably the highest grade of the day. If I had to put a number on it, it's probably I still put a Debo over it, which we're going to talk about right now. I'd give this a B plus. I think this is a really good deal. Now, pulse on a Debo. This fucking comment, man. Dave Gettleman with another win. Yes, another Dave Gettleman classic, where he drafts a good player for Joe Shane and then Joe Shane extends them. Wow. Just Dave Gettleman, the gift that keeps on giving with these great players. Chris, if Dave Gettleman drafted Josh Allen, he might still be here. Which I don't know if that's for better or worse at this point, honestly. It might be for the better because fuck's sake, dude. Between the punter extension, and then just $12 million to, I'm not even gonna call it $12 million. I'm gonna call it, between Robertson Harris, that's 4.5. Hudson is 6, so that's 10.5. And then they kept Nacho, which saved 3.5 on the books. So that's 14. $14 million on players who are, one, either not going to play, or two, should be at maybe like 35% of snaps. I don't know. I do not know. I always am hesitant when you draft or when you sign a player, and the best case scenario is that they're replaced that same season by a draft pick, which is what it seems to be with this Robertson Harris signing. I guess the small stuff won't matter, though, if Paulson Adebo is a great player. 2023 had a fantastic season. I think he was top 15 um in coverage rating by PFF, which I'm gonna pull up right now for everybody. Um, but as an athlete, 6'1", 200 pounds at the combine 4 years ago, ran a 4.45, was in the 96th percentile for oral cornerbacks in terms of relative athletic score, which is basically your height, your weight, your bench, your speed, your agility, your explosion, right? So all these different combine workouts that they do, it's all pooled into one formula. Everything's kind of weighted a certain way. The math is done. It spits out a number, and it spit out a pretty good one for Paulson Adebo. Struggled his first season, was really really bad his first season, um, but by year 3 he put it together. Great year 3. I think he had like 7 interceptions, which hopefully I'm not wrong on, but I think I saw that number. Um, but there's been people who've talked about Paulson's profile. A lot of plays on the ball. He doesn't get thrown at, right? Because he's prone to committing penalties, PIs, but he does have good ball skills. For 3 interceptions this year in 7 games, 4 last year in 2023. I think that maybe this is a bit rich by a couple $1,000,000, but at the end of the day, he's 26. All the other corners who you were, kind of vying for with these other teams. DJ Reed, I believe, was 28. Byron Murphy, I believe, is 27. Carlton Davis, I think, is 29. So, oh my God. Byron Murphy got $22 million a season? We serious? $22 million a season for Byron Murphy? That's $3 million off of being the highest paid DB of all time. What? 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 That's crazy. Every single DB contract that got signed today just looks immediately better. Even Carlton Davis, who signed 3 for 60 with the Patriots, I was like, dude, that contract does not look good. And I think it looks fine now. I really don't like that. Um, I was talking to a few people about who I wanted this free agency. Um, some of them brought up Byron Murphy. I was hesitant with him because there's a lot of mad scientist stuff that goes on in Mini with Brian Flores. He schemes probably he's a top 3 blitz schemer in football right now, probably. Um, a lot of creative coverages, a lot of creative disguises for his coverage. So I didn't feel comfortable taking a corner from Minnesota and bringing him over here and kind of counting on him to have the same level of success. I really wasn't into the whole Byron Murphy business. And I for $4 million more than Paulson Adebo, yeah, I'm glad we stayed out of that, honestly. I mean, $22 million is Patrick Surtain is fucking sick right now. That's a fact. That's a fact. I'm gonna be back in like 2 minutes because I am in college and I was meal prepping. So, I'll be back in 2 minutes, and we will talk about that Jets signing just now, Andre Cisco. Chris, I know you've been wanting to talk Jets, so I got you. We will hit on the Jets when I come back. Um, I just gotta take my food out of the oven, so that's cool. And yeah, I'll be back. Okay. Damn it! It was 4 minutes instead of 2. I'm sorry. I failed everybody. All right. Let's look at the Cisco details. Per Jordan Schultz, Jets were looking at corner and safety. Landed on Andre Cisco, a guy who they really like. But do we have numbers? Oh, $10 million. $10 million. I don't want to say that I hate that. Yeah, I don't want to say that I hate that. It means I want to say I don't hate that. So yes, okay. I did say what I wanted to say. Let's look at the safeties market so far. Yeah, he was much better, Chris, before last season. Chris said he had a down year last year, but was pretty good before then, which correct. He was I think he came into the league, yeah, they're the same free agency class, so they were drafted the same year. Him and Javon Holland, they were both kind of like draft Twitter's safety darlings that year. Cisco's from Syracuse, so I watched him a lot. Just New York football prospect. When do you see a lot of those? So I watched a lot of Cisco. I liked him going into the draft. I thought he's been a good player so far. And you look at what these guys have gotten paid. 26 at the time of the season, he'll be 27. Cam Bynum got $15 million a season. Trayvon Morig will be 26 at the start of the season. Got $17 million a year for 3 seasons, so 51 total. And they don't have guarantee numbers out yet. God, I hate this shit, man. I hate how I don't know what's guaranteed and what's not. Talanoa Hufanga, 3 years, $15 million a season, 45 total. Eric Murray, not really in the same class of player as Cisco, he's 31, got a 3-year deal, which seems pretty crazy, but the first year and a half is guaranteed over there. So not a huge commitment from the Texans. Jeremy Chin, I don't know, man. Jeremy Chin just keeps going for these cheap contracts. He keeps producing. He flies all over the field. He comes down. He's willing to tackle. He's not the best in coverage. If he has to play like a cover 3 or something, and he has to kind of man the middle of the field. But when he's in coverage against these like tight ends and sometimes running backs, he's able to hold his own. So $8 million a season off of a good year last year. He stayed healthy. I thought he'd go for a lot more. I thought he'd go maybe not quite what Hufanga got, but I thought he might go 339. Instead, he goes 2 for 16. So credit to the Raiders. Credit to the Raiders. They slashed $9 million off of that Trayvon Moore contract for a player who I don't think is all, too much of a downgrade from Trayvon Moore. They just do different things. So I like that move for the Raiders, kind of getting cheaper, but also not losing too much production. When you throw Cisco's contract into here, it's the shortest one, right? And he's 24. He obviously wanted a shorter deal so he could hit the market again next season. He probably believes in himself, probably believes that playing with Aaron Glenn, he'll, have a great bounce back season. And it's hard to not think that, right? Like they had Brian Branch, who came into the NFL. Aaron Glenn had him playing at a super high level. They have his name is escaping me right now, but the other safety who's known for hunting people's knees. And Jelly Slims, I see your comment. I'll talk about that in a second. He's done great work with these guys in the secondary. When you look past the safeties, he got Amik Robertson to play at a high level last year, even through all the injuries. Carlton Davis was good when he wasn't hurt last season for them. So I like the signing from both sides. I could easily see them getting a great season out of Cisco, who is going to be willing to learn, right, under Aaron Glenn. I wouldn't be surprised if he had better offers somewhere else and came over here because they gave him 1 year with a great guy to learn from and sold him on cashing in again next season. So if I had to give a grade out, which I don't really love doing, If I had to give a grade out, that's probably like a B, maybe close to a B plus. Um, and now I got Jelly Slims asking me, what do I think about the Lions' first day of free agency? Let's pull them up. Detroit Lions. So they lost Carlton Davis. They replaced him with DJ Reed and brought back Dan Skipper. I think DJ Reed's better than Carlton Davis. I think he's better than Carlton Davis. Having watched DJ Reed real closely, with him being in New York for the Jets. $12 million difference over 3 seasons. Difference of $4 million AAV. Less guarantees for DJ Reed. I think that's a better deal than what New England gave Carlton Davis. I'm not sold on the fit with him going to New England, playing in that variable defense. I think DJ Reed is gonna, he's great in man. He's sticky man coverage. He's gonna go to Detroit, probably keep playing man coverage over there. He's physical. He's willing to tackle, and he's been battle tested. Like he had that game against Jefferson where they played in London, and I thought he was all over him that game. A couple unfair penalties. He's a good player. I think the Lions upgraded. I think it's important for them to be smart with their money now that Glenn's not there to kind of make water out of water out of wine or wine out of water, whatever the phrase is. A lot of these DBs who they've developed over the last couple of years, Terrion Arnold, right, who kind of needs to keep taking steps up. They need him to hit, right? And you kind of keep him pushed down one season where he doesn't need to be the CB1 this year. DJ Reed can still be the CB1 this year. And then over the next couple seasons, as Arnold progresses, as he gets better, you can, kind of have a changing of the guard over there. So I think that's a great signing for them. It's only one player out, one player in, but I do think the Lions got marginally better. Chris says, DJ's good. He took a step back, but I take DJ over Davis at this point. Yep, I agree. And Reed is healthy. Just don't expect turnovers. For a defense like the Lions, I don't think they really need to bank on him having turnovers. Like, they're not really turning the ball much on offense. Goff is playing safe football from the quarterback spot. Not a lot of fumbles on that offense. So if he's not throwing picks, besides that 4 interception game, which is funny as hell that they still won that game. Besides that 4 interception game, not a lot of turnovers, not a lot of fumbles in that offense. They're always going to pound the rock because their line is great and they've built that culture over there. So I don't think they need the turnovers. I think they got a guy who's going to be able to guard, you look in the division, you have a plethora of good receivers in Green Bay. You have what's his face? Jaden Reed. You have Jaden Reed, right? You have Romeo Dobbs, who I think is a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. But you have Dontavion Wicks, who I like a lot. You have Christian Watson. Then you go to Chicago. You have Romo Dinze. You have DJ Moore. And then we go to Minnie. Right? Justin Jefferson, who I just mentioned. He played against him last year, looked good. I wouldn't be surprised if they look at that film and they're like, hey, this guy can hang with him, right? We need an answer for Justin Jefferson. It might not be just straight up playing DJ Reed on him, but if we have DJ Reed with outside leverage and we got a safety shaded inside, maybe that's the best double team we have to throw at Justin Jefferson. And then we go man on the other side with Jordan Addison. We have Brian Branch to come down and guard TJ Hawkinson. I kind of like that plan. I kind of like that. I want to see these wide receiver contracts that got given out, because I think it'll put the Darius Slayton stuff into good perspective for everybody. So, Dyami Brown, off of a resurgent, I guess, season, quote unquote. He really never did anything off of his rookie season or of his rookie deal before this year. So I'm hesitant to say resurgent, but let's see what he put up this season. Dyami Brown, 2024. He had 30 catches for 300 yards and 1 touchdown, 3 carries, and 1 fumble. And he got $10 million a year. Mind you, a lot of his touches schemed up, kind of running through the pass game type things where they run those outside type screens, um, or they take those shot plays and play action for him. So it's kind of not really a lot of intermediate stuff, not a lot of true route tree concepts for Danny Brown getting $10 million a season. That's also off the heels of Tutu Atwell getting $10 million a season for kind of the same role over in Los Angeles. So when you look at those contracts, you look last season at some deals given out. We'll pull up 2024 right here in a second. Gabe Davis, $13 million a year. Darius Slayton is far better. Darnell Mooney, same AAV as Gabe Davis, $1 million a year more than Slayton. I think Slayton's better. I know Mooney had a great season, but he was playing that backup role, not backup role, but playing kind of in that slot, kind of being able to feed off of Drake London and the attention he was drawing. Curtis Samuel last season got $8 million. I think Darius Slayton's well more than $4 million better than Curtis Samuel. A guy like Mike Williams last year, he got 10. So for a free agency class that really had a lot of names, right? We had Devontae. We're going to have Cooper Kupp eventually, who's probably not going to get traded. I don't see anybody giving a pick for that contract. But we have Diggs available. We have Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson available. A lot of real production here on the market. I think Slayton at 12 is a good deal, a good value deal, and I think he might have taken another pay cut to stay. He really likes it here. He's been a mentor for a lot of guys. I believe it was Jordan Renan who had an interview with somebody, and he talked about how Slayton was oftentimes helping Malik know where to line up, right? So they're calling the play in the huddle. And Slayton, before they break the huddle, is telling Malik, yo, this time you're the X, and you're wide split, you're tight split, whatever the case was. So I like that. I like not opening up the hole there. Like I said before, Josh Palmer getting the same contract is whatever. I don't think Josh Palmer is very good, but he's also 25, right? Slayton's 28. I kind of get that part of it. Devontae Adams, though, to the Rams. That's an interesting move, man. I think they think they're really close to Philly, and I don't blame them for it. So this wide receiver market, it's going to heat up with some of these vets. I think they'll probably go around the same price as Slayton will, but when you look at them, right, like Keenan Allen's 33, don't really want that. Stephon Diggs, 31 off of an ACL tear, don't really want that. Brandon Cooks, yeah, fucking next, please. Jesus Christ. Deontay, huge locker room headache. He got cut from like 3 different teams last season. So I'll repeat it again like I've been for the last like 5 minutes as a broken record. Darius Slayton, welcome home. Glad to have you back. Who else do we want to talk about? Let's see some more Jet stuff. I know you guys signed what was his name? Brandon Stevens, I think was his name, from the Ravens. Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I don't have much thoughts on Brandon Stevens. I have thoughts on Justin Fields. I have thoughts on Andre Sisco. Stevens not somebody who I'm too familiar with. Schwinn might be joining us in a second. We'll talk some Bills. I think the Bills did a lot of interesting stuff today. Let me copy this link real quick. Send it over to Schwinn. We'll have Schwinn join us. All right. we'll talk about it more when he comes on, but I think they got a dynamic talent from the Rams, and Michael Hoyt. You don't see a lot of guys his size. He's like a what do I want to say? He's like a 3-4 D end, and a lot of times they're splitting him out and letting him kind of like press guys at the line before making a late run to the quarterback. So I think he's a pretty dynamic talent. I think there's a lot of creative stuff that they can do with him, and like kind of using him to maybe kind of like stymie Kelsey out of a break and then letting him be an extra rusher and so on and so forth. Come on, let me send this out to Schwinn. All right. What else do we want to talk about? What else do we have? What else do we have? Dan Duggan said, I think this is a little north of what the Giants want to pay at safety, but think they'll spend to upgrade the spot next to Newbin. And that was regarding the deal that Andre Sisco got. So if we do some math for them, back on the Giants, obviously, just team I know best. If we do some math for the Giants, they have cap space. I think it's around $48 million. So if we go to what they've done, they've given 18 to Paulson Adebo. And remember that they need about, I want to say, 9.5 for the rookie class. So they're really playing with about 40. They gave 18 to Adebo. They gave 12 to Slayton. So that's 30. Then you have 6 to James Hudson, 4.5 to Roy Robertson Harris, and 3 to Chris Board. So between all those guys, that is 36, 40.5, $43.5 million. So as of right now, they have not signed their rookie class, and they have $6 million in cap space. Signing their rookie class will absolutely take them over the cap. So they're going to have to make cuts potentially. Who knows? They'll have to restructure deals or play around with the cap hits in year one for a lot of these salaries. I obviously could see Adebo and Slayton being backloaded. I would like to not backload Roy Robertson Harris because I think there's a good chance he's cut at the end of this season, this upcoming season. So they're going to have to finagle some stuff with the numbers because they still have to add quarterback. That'll probably be somewhere in the range of $20 to $25 million, no matter who they get, assuming they get Russ or Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have to add a safety, like Dan Duggan just said. I'd like for them to add another D tackle. So, all in all,
what do you think about adding a linebacker
for the Giants?
Yeah.
I don't think they're in a financial state to do that right now, honestly.
Because I know that like Diablo's still out there. I think he's
rangy.
I think he's like a really good player. I'm surprised he's still out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's
the
a real
we're seeing in free
sideline
agency,
to
like,
sideline guy.
Yeah. He's got that Virginia Tech pedigree that everybody
Yes.
craves for.
Yep.
But no, like legit, like Diablo's like a real player. Like I'm surprised he didn't get any early offers in free agency.
I think there's just a lot of guys who teams want to see numbers on first. Like Dre Greenlaw was definitely kind of like a domino there.
Kind of set the market for those type of guys, right?
Yeah.
Like
he got like 11.5.
I love Greenlaw. I think he's great. The problem is he ruptured his Achilles.
Yeah.
He played 2 games this past year. Like what you're betting on is so I think it makes sense for the Broncos, I don't know. I guess the way to put it is the Broncos basically bet on the injury risk isn't real with him and Hufanga, right? That was like the bet they made with those guys.
Yeah.
But I also don't like the Hufanga one because for me, I don't think they need a fucking box safety, which is like that's his best trait is that like he comes out of the box and he's a fucking playmaker down there.
Yeah, yeah. He causes chaos.
But I think they need a fucking like range safety, like a guy that like really covers the back end for them. I don't know. I thought it's not like bad. It's not like these are not like bad signings, but they're weird to me. Is probably the best way I could put it.
Let's pull up the depth chart right here real quick. And
It's
also
like,
for what it's worth, the
like,
safety class is pretty strong this year in
it
the
is.
draft.
That's why if you need safeties, you should hang out.
You should draft one. Yeah.
Well, no, like defensive tackle and safety is the two positions that you should be like hanging out for a while.
That's why I'm upset with this fucking Roy Robertson Harris deal. Like the second signing they made was to jump on a guy who was a cap casualty for $5 million a season potentially. I can't get past that. It's bothering me.
Devil's advocate position would be this, right? Do you think they needed 2 defensive tackles?
Yes, and I thought that they would go first wave. I thought they'd go first wave, probably somebody in the $12 million range. And then I thought they'd go maybe third wave of free agency, somebody around $2 to $3 million. But
so they kind of split the baby there, I guess, a little bit. I mean, all right. Well, I mean, I'm sure you already talked about this. What did you think about the Slayton signing?
I like Slayton. I like Slayton coming back a lot. I'll expand because I rambled about it for a long time.
I would like it more if I knew the Giants quarterback situation.
I think they told him that if it's not Rodgers, that it's Russ. And he was like, all right, I'm back.
So you think it's all right, let's put it this way then. So what happens if they don't get either?
If they don't get either, I mean, like, this is just my guess. I think it's going to be Jameis.
Then do we march on the swamp?
I really don't know. Like, I don't know what New York football for the Giants at least looks like next year if they don't get Russ or Aaron Rodgers. Like, is it going to be like Gardner Minshew? Is it going to be Jameis? Is it going to be Mariota? Like, I really don't know. And I think the report out there that the Titans are looking at Russell Wilson, I think it's a bullshit leverage play. I would dare them to go pay $25 million for Russell Wilson when they just hired a new front office and they have a second-year coaching staff that probably does not have their job on the line. So I'd say, yeah, you're going to do that? Okay, go do it. Go do it. And if they do it and now you don't have Russ on the market, are you just doing our plan where you pay Russ and then you draft Cam Ward? I don't think they'd do that because they don't have the incentive to keep they don't have the incentive to really draft him when their jobs are on the line, like I said before. So I don't think they're as serious of a player as we are. I think they're trying to make themselves look serious so they can get an extra second or an extra third or just bump one of those picks up to the first. Like they want next year's first in this trade for the first pick. So yeah, I think they're just leveraging us.
So you think the offer is probably like a first and a second, like next year's second?
I think the offer right now is probably along the lines of, and if you guys saw my mock draft that I posted, I think it's along the lines of 3 this year, so the number 3 pick, a third rounder this year, and next year's second. And I think the Titans are trying to get the third pick this year, maybe a third rounder this season, and they want that second rounder bumped up to the first rounder next year, which by all means, I would not trade that pick. I don't give a I would, if I was John Mara, I would tell Joe Shane, you want Cam Ward?
Yeah, you're not trading that first round.
Get it done without that pick. Get it done without that pick.
Like, yeah, to me that you can't trade. Well, you can't trade the first round because like you haven't proven to me that you can be good. So like I can't trade the first round pick that might be really good. It's the same thing. Like the Bears essentially got out of this jail because they were able to parlay their pick into the Panthers thing, right? Like, so that's like, you can't bet on that. You can't bet on like, that was a dumb trade in real time. The trade they made for Fields was stupid in real time.
Horrible.
I thought it was terrible at that time. And I mean, most people did, but like, you
Not for
can't.
Fields, for Bryce Young.
No.
Did
But
you
what
say
I'm saying is
Fields?
like they traded for Fields.
With us, okay, yes. I thought you
Yeah,
meant
yeah.
when they took the entire Panthers organization. That's what I thought
Right,
you meant.
but they no, but like they got bailed out because they were so bad that they got the first overall pick. But
Yeah.
that's the value of keeping the pick. That's the value of it, right? Like,
It was
is
2 seasons later, though. That was, I
sure.
think, because then we had their pick with Neil. But yeah, like, you don't want to trade that shit. You just don't. You don't, because then we're the Panthers and the Titans are the Bears.
Right. And honestly, it just like if Neil was good, then nobody would be like, oh, that was a good trade. Like, I mean, nobody says it's a good trade anyway because Fields isn't on the Bears anymore. So
Fields isn't on the Bears. Neil sucks. Tony's probably in jail. Like, that trade sucks all around.
Tony,
And I only say that because he did get arrested
the,
earlier this season. I'm not just like throwing shit at the wall over there.
wait, who did?
Tony, he got arrested for something.
Oh, who cares? He's not. Is he? I don't think he's in the NFL anymore. So
Nah, he I don't know if he was on a roster. He was on the Browns, I think, this season on their practice squad. But I think that was it. This guard market is crazy.
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's your show.
Aaron Banks. No, I know. Aaron Banks getting $20 million or 19 and a half if you want to really like fucking be detail oriented. I think this deal, I think the Dan Moore deal to Tennessee where he got $20 million a season, Macari getting almost 13. I think this tells you extend your guys year 3 if you know they're good already. It's expensive for these guys, man. Like, I think eventually we'll see the pivot from
it's the offensive line. It's the offensive line thing, though, right? Where you're just like, if you have a good offensive lineman, like teams don't, no
let
team
them
wants
walk.
to lose a good offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's really the fundamental reality of it. Like, if you have a good offensive lineman, you never want to let those guys walk. They're really valuable. And I mean, we've known this for years where it's like, I don't know if it was you, I don't remember who it was. I saw a tweet somewhere where it was like, you know, you don't win the Super Bowl on the first day of free agency, but you can lose the Super Bowl on first day of free agency. I forgot who tweeted it. Somebody tweeted it. And then, there are a lot of these Eagles fans who are like, oh, we won the first day. We won the Super Bowl because we got Saquon Barkley on the first day of free agency. And I'm like, I don't think you won the Super Bowl because you got Saquon Barkley on the first day of free agency. I think you won the Super Bowl because your fucking lines are fucking amazing. And that has nothing to do with free agency, basically. Like, that has to do with Howie Roseman being Satan and, getting the best draft value possible at these places. But, like, it matters in the sense of, I think when you see a team like the Eagles succeed as well as they did this year, I mean, whatever, they had their issues in the regular season, but in their playoff run, I mean, their lines, I mean, that was the difference, right? Like, that was the difference in every single one of those games where it was like, their lines are just better than everybody else's lines, at least this year. And, look, they lost Josh Sweat. They lost, who else they lose? They lost Milton Williams and whatever. Like
they
I don't
lost
think
them and Hassan Reddick was gone already. So yeah, never mind.
Yeah, Reddick was gone already. But like, I'm not saying these guys are necessarily easily replaceable, but when you have your studs in place, it's a lot easier to fit pieces around them than trying to find free agency to get your studs. Like that's the hardest. Like that's really, really fucking hard. And that's why, like, if you're me and I'm a Bills fan, and you're like, oh my God, we need to get a premium edge rusher. We're like, Brendan Bean, please trade everything for Trey Hendrickson. Like, because getting those guys is so hard. And it's what makes the entire situation with Hendrickson and Cincinnati so insane. Where you're like, dude, like, this is the guy. Like, first of all, they didn't draft Hendrickson. They bet on him in free agency.
Yeah.
And they got him. And he
from the Saints. And how often is it that the Saints let a player like that walk? They won crazy on that situation.
Yeah,
they never let a D lineman walk.
So you already you hit on the bet. Why are like and you look if you, as long as you have the moment you have Joe Burrow and you have Jamar Chase, you're in a contention window. Like you're 100% contending. There's no like you should not view this as some like, oh, we gotta, you know, like yeah, you can have a 1-year retool maybe, but you don't get like, oh, we need like 3 years to figure this out. Like if you let this guy walk, I can't. I honestly, I don't know if people get how crazy. Like the Hendrickson thing to me is almost the equivalent of like, it's almost like if Dallas, when they let Brunson walk, if they already knew how good Brunson was going to be, like if Brunson already did one of his like all-star, all-NBA seasons, and they were like, yeah, you know, that's great, but like we can't afford that right now. They're like, what do you mean you can't afford that right now? Pay the guy and then figure it out. Like Hendrickson this guy has had what 17 and a half 2 years in a row. Like, what are we talking about here? This is what you dream of.
Yeah.
This is what you dream of. Like
there's some scheme versatility there too. Like
who cares about scheme versatility? He's an edge rusher that gets you 17 and a half sacks 2 years in a row. Like, I don't care about scheme. You don't need to give me a scheme. You don't need to give me anything. Like, none of that shit matters. The fact that he's even available is fucking bananas. It is fucking bananas. And I think it's going to happen. I don't know who, like, I don't know who's going to get him. I don't know what team's going to acquire him. I hope it's the Bills. We'll see. But, like, the fact that they are already spending money on different guys, like, really, you brought back Gesicki? Like, that was a big priority. And they've already stated that, like, Higgins is, like, they're going to hold the fucking franchise tag on him.
Yeah.
So, like, when you get to these points, it's like, you're valuing your wide receiver 2 over edge rusher 1. That's so insane to me in any era of football, but especially in this era of football, I can't really wrap my brain around it.
Like, I also think some of that is like not.
I mean, I'm wrong.
Really,
am I wrong?
Like, no, you're not wrong. I don't think it's the same context for them as it is for other teams, though. Like, it's a little different to say the Bengals are valuing wide receiver 2 and have it be T. Higgins rather than the Bucs are valuing wide receiver 2 over Trey Hendrickson and it's Chris Godwin. Like, it's a different tier of player, it's different age, all that type of stuff. But there's money to pay both of them. And I don't know why their owner is so hesitant to pay these guys this money. T. Higgins has not really had a major injury. He's had little nicks and stuff over there, like throughout a couple seasons. He had quad issues and shit like that. He's never had a real long-term injury. Chase had the hip stuff. He's just came back and had the best season he's ever had and led the NFL and everything.
Chase is Chase. So, Chase is Chase, bro. You pay that guy, I don't give a shit about that. Like, but they haven't. This is my thing. They haven't fucking paid him yet. Like they never get ahead of the market. They never get ahead of the market.
Never.
They always.
And it's biting them in the ass. Biting them in the ass.
Them and the Cowboys are these teams that like they try to like, oh, we're gonna play hardball, and then I'm like, okay, so you're gonna play hardball with a guy that's like an obvious stud, and then you just end up paying him anyway. So what the fuck was the point of playing hardball to begin with? And then if the Bengals case, no, we're not gonna pay him. We're just gonna franchise him a second time in a row. Okay. So you're just stupid. Like you just like because if I'm T. Higgins right now, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm showing up for everything, but I am fucking putting in like 20%. I am showing up to practices, hungover. I'm fucking hanging out. I'm not because I'm like, why should I do anything for you You don't value what I'm putting myself like realistically, this is a sport where you're putting your fucking body on the line. Like you're really putting your body on the line. Why should I do anything but the bare minimum when I know if I get through this season healthy, teams will be lying? Do you think if T. Higgins gets through this season healthy, forget his production. Let's say he puts up like a fucking mid-ass like 65 catch, 900 yard season, some shit like that.
Okay.
3 touchdowns. Are you really trying to tell me he's not going to get major money offers next summer? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's 100% going to happen. Like, he's like a in prime receiver that you can sign for nothing. He's going to get paid. He should, and he knows that.
Next season, he'll be 27. And DK Metcalf just turned 27 also. So he'll be on the same timeline as DK. And by that time, it's going to be another league year. So the cap's going to be higher, right? I think
he's going to get paid. And they can't tag him again. So he's an unrestricted free agent.
He's probably going to get 5 years, $160
minimum.
Yeah.
Because he'll be the highest priority wide receiver target on the market. It won't even be close.
And that's the contract DK got while being on a 1-year deal still. So Higgins might get 170. There's really not like any limit to this. Teams know if I give T. Higgins a 5-year deal, the cap in 2026 is gonna yeah for real, Jeremy Grant numbers. The cap is gonna explode.
Less guaranteed, by the way. Less guaranteed
for T. Higgins. Yeah,
less guaranteed. Jeremy Grant's entire contract is guaranteed. He gets his $150 million no matter what.
2026 is another supposed cap spike in the NFL. So T. Higgins' agent is probably going to take it to the table and say, hey, guys, you want to sign this 5-year deal? That's all fine and dandy, but we know that this shit's going to spike in 2026. Right after we put pen to paper, next season, this cap is jumping. All those cap percentage numbers, they're all going to change drastically. So if I'm playing 80% of this contract after the spike, and I'm only playing 20 of it before the spike, why am I going to sign for pre-spike prices? Now that I think about it, he might get like 180. $30 million. That's $6 million more than DK Metcalf. But you're pricing in that him have 2030s when he's going to be when he's done. Like it's
just think of it in the sense of let's say, are the Giants going to have a bunch of cap space next summer? I'm just asking a question.
The Giants are going to have around 100 million.
Okay, so let's say they trade up for Cam Ward. Cam Ward's awesome, but him and Neighbors isn't good enough. You're like, hey, you know what? We have this window here where we can overpay to get this guy before we have to pay Cam Ward. Before we have to pay Malik Neighbors. Like, we can just pay this shit. Like, you have these windows for these teams where they can overpay for these guys. And it creates uncertainty that it doesn't matter. I want to get to this question. Really good question. Chris Bernard, Schwinn, were you upset when the Browns gave Garrett all the money? Yeah, I was upset, but I was like, good job, Garrett. Good job, Myles Garrett, pretending that you cared about winning, and you were just like, okay, fine. I care about winning, but I also care about banking $123 million guaranteed. Congrats to him. Good job by him. Good job as agent. He deserves all the praise in the world. Mad respect. When he gets traded or cut in like 2 or 3 years or whatever the fuck it is, hopefully you come to Buffalo for a minimum. We'll be waiting. We will be waiting, sir. We will be waiting.
How about Najee Harris getting $10 million?
That's the most. I love.
That's the most Jim Harbaugh deal ever.
I didn't know senility happened this fast.
What the fuck is that?
Senility? Going senile?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was. I didn't know that was how that worked. Okay, yeah.
No, it's a MAGA term. Don't worry about it. It's about like praising Elon. That's what it is.
Oh my god, dude! I literally can't look at Robinhood anymore. It's just not good for me. Fuck them. Fuck them. What do you think about our Adebo deal, Schwinn? I said my piece on it. But I
So
want
I'll be
to hear
honest
your
with you, like
thoughts.
I don't have strong thoughts on it because I haven't watched Adebo play enough to like have any real thoughts on
Yeah.
it. What I
Okay.
will say is that it felt or it looked ultimately the initial reporting was like, so they got a guy that was like a day one corner for like half the
Yeah.
value of everybody else. Seems great. But the ultimate reporting seems like they paid a guy that was one of the top corners in the market to come in at the value that like what the top corners in the market got paid. He's big. Like he's good size. I don't know I don't know. Are you guys running zones, man? I don't know what those. I don't know those
We ran a
details.
lot of cover 3 last year. A lot of cover 3.
So you go ahead, finish.
I don't think that there's a particular scheme that they're bound to this season. I don't think Bank was a great fit with cover 3. I still don't think Adebo is a great fit with cover 3.
What
I
I
could
will
see
say
them
is
being
I just think
managed there.
there's a value to having like I don't think Deontay Banks is terrible. I think he's like not suited to being a guy that is I am the number one corner type
Yeah.
situation. And I think you have two guys. I don't think Adebo is suited to being a number one corner based on what I've minimally have read in his contract, and the fact that he hit free agency. Like, I would guess that like he's a good number two, and if you have two good number twos, your secondary is in a much better position than you were in last year, where you had Deontay Banks as your one capable outside corner, and he was clearly not good enough to be like I take the number ones of every other team, and that's what I do. Like, I think it's good to have two solid outside corners. I do think Banks is a solid outside corner. I don't think he's a great outside corner. He's not locked down. He's not shutting down a side of the field. But if
Yeah.
you have two of those guys, that helps. I think they needed that. The safety room is still, we'll see what it is.
Still kind of empty, honestly.
Yeah, and that's the concern. I think this draft for safeties, I think, is apparently okay. It's like a pretty decent safety class. So maybe you can find something there. And then maybe, who would you guys draft last year that was good? Safety guy.
Nubin. Tyler
Yeah.
Nubin.
So maybe Nubin takes a leap and that changes things. Look, the Giants are bad. So they have a lot of holes. So it's not like you can sign a lot of guys and they'd be like, yeah, that's an upgrade. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean everything. At the end of the day, you're paying the price in free agency for the fact that Joe Shane's first two draft classes sucked. Like that's really what it is. You have to
Yeah.
pay that price in free agency. Now, can you make up for it in this year's draft? That's really the question, and that's that won't be determined until week 1, and then we go from there. But on the surface of like paying him the contract you gave him, I don't think it's like insane or anything. It's just we don't know what it results in.
Yeah. I think that if you
And I gotta say, I also want to say, I thought the Jets getting Justin Fields for what they got him. I was like, I'm a big fan of that. I think that's a really good contract. That's exactly this to me shows the Jets like actually understanding how they should operate. Like you are not in a contention window yet. You need to build to a contention window. You signed a bridge quarterback, good. Let's if he and to be fair, Justin Fields is what like 25. Like he's got the potential to like grow more, like to become more potentially.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like whatever. I mean, he's 24, 25,
25,
26.
26. It's all the
Yeah.
same thing.
He's in that age. Like he's in that age where it's like he's not. The book is not closed on the guy. So that's a good signing. I think their contract structure is probably good there. It was like 2 years, 40 million, 30 million guaranteed. So you can get behind that. I think it's just smart. Like I just think like that shows a level of self-awareness about where your organization is that at times, I mean, at least in the last year to me, the Jets did not have, where it's like you're trading a 3rd-round pick for Devontae in the middle of the season. It's like, what the hell are you like? What is the point of that? There's no point to that. So this to me is better, is much better, and I like it. I don't know about the Brandon Stevens one. Questionable. It's not like a huge fucking risk you're taking though. So
James Edwards says, my prediction tonight, Tyler Kolek plays. Get the liberal NBA notifications out of my iPad right now. This is NFL season. This is let's talk about Josh Palmer, and I want to know what you've seen other Bills guys say about it, because I'm not the biggest fan of this contract.
Josh Palmer, elite separation guy, apparently. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you I was crunching Josh Palmer tape during the season here.
Shame.
But all the metrics say that he's an elite separation guy. I think we definitely needed, like, you could see that very, very easily in that Chiefs game, where it's like, if you don't have a guy that can get separation one-on-one, man-to-man, it's a really big problem. He apparently is very good at that. That matters. And that's why I'm fine. And you know, it's not like some exorbitant. They basically just gave him the exact contract you gave Slayton, right? Where it's like 36 million, 18 million guaranteed. So that seems to be like the market for that level of receiver, where you're kind of paying for, like, we know what you are. You're not elite. You have some traits we like. You're an NFL guy for sure. Let's see what happens. I will say he's making a major upgrade from going from liberal Justin Herbert to the great Patriot Josh Allen.
That's why I think that the Slayton deal is better, because he had Justin Herbert already, who, while not Josh Allen, because I don't think anybody, even Patrick Mahomes, is Josh Allen. Slayton has produced with Daniel Jones, and I'm not going to retread every quarterback who we've fucking started over the years. But he's produced at a higher level than Josh Palmer with worse quarterback play. So that went into my math when I said that I think the Slayton contract was a little bit below market. But I do think that Josh Palmer has a chance to grow in Buffalo. 6'2", 215. I don't know exactly what he was as a RAS score coming out of college at Tennessee, but I can find that real quick. Let's see here. And it did not load first time. 1 second. I see 4.5. Like I said, 6'2", 215. I mean, the athletic profile is like it says 7.6 out of 10. So there's athleticism there. There's stuff to play with. He's still 25. I just wonder, you have Keon Coleman, you have Khalil Shakir, you have Josh Palmer. I guess that's your three for this season. Even though you paid Curtis Samuel, he's more of like that gadget guy. You've used him in the backfield before, right?
I think the way I look at it is the Bills are viewing the wide receiver room as like this is how much money we have designated to this position, and we want to get XYZ skill sets out of it. And he adds a skill set that we didn't have. Like, he is a better separation guy than guys we have had, especially on the boundary. Like, nobody on the boundary we had last year was getting separation. So if he's a guy that gets separation out of the boundary, which is what he graded out as, that's probably like a fine contract for him. I don't think it's I'm not expecting Josh Palmer to come in and be like, okay, now he's like a 1,300-yard receiver, and you know,
if he gives you 850, you're happy.
Yeah,
you're very happy.
And ultimately, you're still like, look, the bets are here. Like, the bets are Shakir takes another leap, which I think is going to happen. Like, I'm not that worried about that. The other bet is Kincaid takes a leap, which I'm less certain about, but I'm still like there with him, where I'm like, okay, like, if you're telling me the guy was hurt most of last year, fine. Let's see what it looks like. But this is a big year for him. Like, this has to be the year where he shows you something really, like a leap, a real leap. And that happens sometimes for guys in year 3 and year 4 and whatever. So I'm fine with that. They signed Matt Hoyt.
Matthew Hoyt. Yeah, I was going to bring it up.
Hoyt, who I think, like, I'm lying to you if I'm telling you, like, oh, I love this guy. I studied his tape. I did not study his tape. I did not know who the fuck he was until I watched like a couple videos a couple weeks ago. But like I know that people that actually watch tape and do those things like him as a versatile piece. And I think the versatility of it is interesting and useful because this has not been a defense that has been extremely versatile previously. Like we've basically just been like, we line up how we line up type deal. So if he gives us a versatility that we have lacked, I'm okay with that. And we didn't pay like a ton of money for him.
Yeah.
It's pretty much in line with a lot of the defensive end contracts you saw.
I mean, he got $8 million a year, which I thought was for what he brings to the table. He does something that a lot of guys just don't. He starts the possession outside the tight end a lot of times, or he'll start kind of in that wide 9 right outside the tight end, and he'll drop back and check a tight end. If they're running kind of like a curl or kind of like an in cut, out cut, whatever. And if they're not on a route, he has free range to blitz. He has free range to stun inside if he wants. He has free range to kind of, play around and pass rush however he wants to pass rush. So I think you get him for $8 million a season. Essentially, you cleared what, 14 from the Von Miller cut? I think he gives you.
We cut like 8.5.
So he fits right into that Von Miller free salary. Von Miller is not somebody who I think you really wanted to go to war with this season after what he showed last year.
If he wasn't going to take a pay cut, it just made sense for all parties involved to like, hey, look, you tore yourself, it didn't work. Sorry.
Yeah. So he's just on Michael Hoyt, 6'4", 315, so pretty fucking huge. Running a 4.65 40, 7-second 3-cone, 4.2-second shuttle, 34-inch vert. And his RAS score was 9.93 out of 10. So, I mean, just that 40 time alone with that shuttle, with that 3-cone time is like, you're big and you can move fast in a straight line and you can change direction and not lose too much speed. So, unique talent. And I'm pretty excited to see like what McDermott can get out of him, because if Chris Shula got this level of play, it's time for McDermott to get a little bit mad scientist with what he does too. Like you said, you guys line up in base and you're just, going at it just like that. So with Rousseau, with Oliver, with Hoyt, with Phillips, right? You guys don't have Phillips. Who am I thinking of? Your one tech, Jones. You got real size all over that line right now, because this guy's an edge rusher.
He's a big edge guy.
He's a big edge. Rousseau, it's like what, 6'6", 270.
Rousseau's a monster. That contract was fine. I had zero issue. Like, you're like, oh, he doesn't give it. I'm like, he got 8 sacks last year. Like, 8 sacks basically gets you that production. Like that's what gets you paid at that level. Like, you're paying him you're basically giving him edge rusher 2 money, and he's 24. Edge rushers usually develop later than a lot of other positions. Like, there's still a chance for the guy to become like he's never going to be fucking, Von Miller or like whatever, name the elite edge rusher, but can he become like a 11 sack type guy potentially? Like, that's in the cards. That's in
there. Yeah. And the sack variance is always like, he could have had 11 sacks this season, right? Like, it's just a matter of
his pressure was good.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. I think this could. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it because we got to see it first. But I do like the fact that they're getting more dominant up front.
We have to beat Satan.
Yes. Will you consider like making a shrine before the game this year?
I would make a shrine if we beat KC in the playoffs. I don't care what round. We've been in the wild card round. I'll make a shrine.
What if you beat them, but it doesn't result in a Super Bowl?
It's fine. Shrine's still happening.
Anything you I touched on a lot of Giant stuff. I touched on all the Jet stuff. We did Bills, so I don't really have anything sticking out so far today. Like I hit the guard market. Was there anything you had in mind before hopping on?
No, that's it.
Let me just do one more quick thing and make sure I hit everything that I want to hit on. I mean, Sam Darnold, somebody actually brought that up earlier. The Sam Darnold contract. Like, that contract is so bad, but it's still, like, not really that bad because he's still got less than fucking Daniel Jones, and he's a quarterback.
It's the Baker contract. I think it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, he's
It's not a
to
big
me,
deal.
he's not as good as Baker.
He's not, but I don't think he is either. But I'm saying, like, you got to kind of, if you're paying market rate, you have to get to that point. So I don't think it's crazy. Like I don't think it's terrible. Would I have done it? I don't know. But like in their position, once you like, I don't think it's an insane thing to trade Geno for a decent third and then
just fill the spot with salary.
Yeah, like I think that's fine. I think that's like pretty okay. And it's like the same thing, like how I felt about the Raiders doing it. So it was like the third they traded was the third they got for Devontae Adams. So I'm like, okay, so you basically got Geno for Devontae. Like that is probably okay. It's probably fine.
Yeah. A little bit of a cop out, but since the Knicks are starting and we've been on here for an hour and a half, I think we'll end it right here. I think Wednesday night, maybe, if there's enough action going on and there's enough stuff with school that permits me to come on here. We'll hit another one because I like doing these. I like these live reactions. I love when the Byron Murphy news broke right when we were on here and I got to just shit on it. That felt great. So yeah, Wednesday hopefully will be day 3 live stream. Hopefully the Giants can trade for Josh Allen on Wednesday and we'll be happy. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next time.